Christopher Malagisi, and 29 years old.
And kind of what are you doing right now to make the world a better place in your eyes?
Well, I have an organization called the Young Conservatives Coalition. It's a young professional conservative leadership, educational, networking organization, primarily DC based, but the idea is a lot of young leaders come to DC. They want to participate, want to be involved in the cause, and what we're trying to do is allow them networking opportunities to help them get internships, jobs, and for continuing professional work as well. So we're trying to serve as kind of an umbrella organization for all the leading center-right young adult and college groups to get them all networking together.
And you want to talk a little bit more about the evolution of that group and kind of more specifics about what kind of stuff you've done and successes you've had?
Sure. Well, the group started about in the day after Election Day, November 5th, 2008, after the presidential election. President Obama had just been elected by the largest margin ever in the youth vote by a 2-to-1 margin. A lot of us who'd worked on youth campaigns before, many for other presidential campaigns, kind of taken aback at how well that he did, and he did a fantastic job. He used new media and technology, actually catered to the youth vote to try to talk about issues that were important to them, and that's very important. We thought that our side, at least the conservative side, had really not done a good job of articulating the conservative message. So the idea was to try to enunciate what does it mean to be a conservative post 2008, and how do we get more young people involved to participate in that. We're a nonprofit, so we don't endorse candidates or legislation, but there are many ways that you can do to get people information about the conservative philosophy, books that they could read, course curriculums they can take, or try to get them in jobs where they can really not only participate in the movement but also learn politically as well as intellectually what does it mean to be a conservative. So we've had a lot of great success over the last 2 years. We've done everything from professional networking meetings. We've done some leadership summits where we've invited people from around the country to participate in this dialogue. We've also done award ceremonies to try to highlight youth that have made a significant contribution to just general civic participation in the conservative movement. Everybody from Hannah Giles from the whole Acorn video incident to John McCormick from the Weekly Standard, and John O'Hara wrote one of the first books about the Tea Party. These are all people under the age of 30 that are doing some big things. So we're trying to highlight that as well, and we throw we throw some pretty big parties too. The two being Reagan Palooza. It's basically a big party during the Conservative Political Action Conference weekend. It's like the largest gathering of the vast right-wing conspiracy every year, and we offer this as an outlet for young professionals to, again, network and get to know each other, not just in DC but around the country too. So we do those type of events. We've done some movie premieres too, try to promote documentaries that are favorable to the cause. We've done educational seminars and panels as well. We've co-sponsored events with the Heritage Foundation think tank as well to get information out that try, again, educate others about conservatism. And I think we've made a good dent and try to shift the focus back to youth, at least on the conservative side of the political aisle.
And you talked about the Obama election in 2008 kind of being a catalyst for this, but was there any particular moment that caused you to realize that this coalition needed to be formed, or was it kind of a gradual thing that this idea had kind of been forming for a while?
Well, Election Day really made it clear in my eyes, but I think anybody who's kind of following it through the presidential campaign, you could see that McCain was really not doing much. And I don't think it has to do necessarily with his age. That's part of it. Ronald Reagan did win the youth vote in 80 and 84. So it's not necessarily the age thing, but that does play a factor in it. McCain didn't spend any time really doing anything youth-oriented. They had one guy basically in charge of the entire operation, and there wasn't much cultivation in trying to get youth out to participate. This is, of course, on a political level, but even intellectually, too, you didn't see much going on to try to further the conservative movement. So a lot of us who had participated with it were seeing this gradually over the term of the campaign, but afterwards saw that when you lose by 2-to-1, obviously that's a wake-up call that something needs to be done.
Yeah. And this is a question we've asked of everybody, which is, what are some ways you work across traditional boundaries to get things done or kind of break traditional stereotypes?
Well, I believe conservatism is sexy. I think it's for young people. A lot of people think that conservatism is just for the old white male. That's not true at all. Conservatism is the ideals of individual freedom, personal responsibility, strong national defense, a limited government, and preserving traditional values. I think those are ideas that anybody of any age would think are worthwhile. And it's funny when I talk to people and they ask me, what is conservatism for a young person? I said, well, what is conservatism itself? Inherently you're trying to conserve something. Well, what are you trying to conserve? You're trying to conserve the ideals of the American founding, America's first principles. And that's ageless, that's different, that doesn't speak to just Republicans, that speaks to Democrats, independents, libertarians, constitutionalists, and at being a nonprofit, we're able to speak to different audiences than just one political party. So, we have independents, we have some Democrats, so we have many libertarians, constitutionalists, as well as conservatives. So we try to bridge the gap and have discussions to break along those lines that sometimes are placed by others. So we try to do that.
And what are some of the challenges you see facing this new generation, this millennial generation as it's being called?
Well, our generation is supposed to be the volunteer generation or the civic generation, and I think we're doing a lot more than our parents, the baby boom generation, did in many ways. It's not the me society, and before it's the us society, the think globally, act locally. The challenge is harnessing that energy and continuing that post just your high school and college years to beyond. A lot of people graduate school, they want to get a good job, they want to get married, have a family, and sometimes you kind of lose that a little bit. You have other responsibilities. The challenge is keeping them involved and participating, and there are new different technologies and ways to keep people in touch and involved, but really just channeling that energy to make sure they continue just past their high school and college days.
Yeah. And what advice do you have for a young person who's looking to get more involved in their communities and youth mobilization and the political process? What would you tell them?
Get involved. At a bare minimum, go register and vote. There are so many 18-year-olds out there that are not registered to vote, and in college students too. Many of them go away to school and they kind of forget about it, or they think, well, this is not where I live, so I don't need to register to vote here. That's not true at all. You could do absentee ballots if you're not living where you are now. If you're at college, there you can register to vote in that area. Technically, you're considered a resident of the area. But if you didn't want to do that, you can always do absentee ballots. That's the first thing. The second thing is figure out your political philosophy. It's not something that just comes to you. It's something you have to want to understand and learn. Go read the Republican National Platform or the Democrat National Platform. Learn about the different ideas and come to your own conclusions. And ideally try to get involved in helping certain candidates, or if candidates aren't your thing, certain legislation that's out there that you think might be worthwhile. Or join even a group on campus is something that's fighting for a particular cause that you think would be worthwhile. Those are just little things that you can do just to get involved. But at the bare minimum, register to vote.